Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. I'm Jim, and I'm here, of course, with my partner Elijah Weintraub. Eli, how you doing?
Good morning, and the weather is better than I expected. It's actually sunny out. It was supposed to be rainy all day.
It's
So,
ra- I don't know where you're living, but it's raining by me.
well, it's clear by me. So that's, I guess, two different areas. That's Jersey for you folks. But
Yeah, that's because you're younger than me. You need the sunlight, I guess.
yeah, but other than that, it's a great day here. And
Yep.
most importantly, although there's no hockey on tonight, a big New York Knicks game tonight, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in just a little bit. But we start off with the monologue, sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summer Hill, New York.
Yep. And it's the last day of May, Eli. And I know your big graduation's coming up next week. So congratulations on that.
Appreciate
Uh,
it.
and I got a good monologue this week. It's kind of and Eli, I know you posted it on our Facebook and our Instagram account. So I hope people had an opportunity to read it. I had some terrific feedback on it. It's kind of like a Rudy like story. And it
Yeah.
was written by one of our neighborhood friends who was in my little brother's class,
Hmm.
Eddie Mott. So I wanted to give a shout out to Eddie. And he's building a website called Dad Bod Essays. And very well written article, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit because it does relate to my little brother. So if you have an opportunity to read the article, we would love your comments and feedback. But the Monahan referenced in the article is Steve Monahan and not me. So, but
Incredible.
it was literally a great story about, and it literally was the same little league football that I played in 2 years ahead of Steven, and Eddie was on the team, and he has this unbelievable recollection of this one particular game back in September of 1978. And there was a story about a young kid named Benji who was, on the team, but not one of the key players and stuff. And he never really got an opportunity to get into the game. And in this particular story, he does get into the game and he has this
That
moment,
is awesome.
right? He has the moment of his life and, like literally a Rudy type story. And I hope you have an opportunity to read it. And
Read it.
Eddie, Eddie did such a wonderful job on it. And like I said, I posted it on our Instagram site. So if you have an opportunity, you know, with all that goes on in the world, this is a story that,
You
you
wanna
know,
hear. You wanna talk
it's
about.
yeah, it's a feel good story about what sports is all about and how teamwork and teammates become lifelong friends that have memories like Eddie. Incredible to recall, literally almost play by play. It was amazing, and I hope people have an opportunity. So Eddie, thank you for sharing that with me, and gives us an opportunity to share with our sports with Mono and Mono community. So thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Eddie. And by the way, that story, the whole article and much more is available on our Instagram and Facebook page. So if you don't have us on Instagram or you don't follow us, you see the top of the screen above Jim's head. That's a QR code to Instagram. Scan the QR code and follow us on Instagram now.
Great.
For Sports with Mono Mono on Instagram, you could see the full story there, plus much more content and details there. Sports with Mono Mono on Instagram, Facebook, you could catch it. And if you want a personal copy of the story, email the show and I'll be happy to give it to you. I'll leave the QR code up for the next segment and I'll change it back. So feel
Yeah,
free to
and if
scan it.
somebody wants, yeah, someone they could send us an email at sportswithmono@gmail.com and we'll answer it personally and
Yeah,
send you a copy. Absolutely.
absolutely. So yeah, if you don't have an Instagram though, scan the QR code. It's right above Jim's head now.
Great story. Great story. Okay,
Let's
Eli.
go
So
to the NBA. I think we got to start with that first.
yeah, we got a lot to talk about there. We sure
Yeah.
do. Right?
We got to start with there first because tonight is game 6. The New York Knicks are at the Pacers. If the Knicks win, they force game 7. They play on Monday. But if Indiana wins, they move on to the finals that begin this Thursday on ABC to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Tonight's game's at 8 o'clock on TNT. What do we expect from tonight, Jim?
Well, listen, this is very, very interesting. And when Indianapolis jumps out to a 3 games to 1 lead, even Nick fans were saying, this is the same old Knicks. We can't get over that hump. We can't get back to the finals. And this series is not over. I felt really comfortable that the Knicks were going to at least come back. And you and I talked a little bit about this, right? The Oklahoma City series wrapped up early. They won 4
They look
games to
phenomenal.
1. And this Knicks team is going to fight and they're going to scrap. And do not be surprised if they win in Indianapolis. And if it goes back to Game 7, then it's all or nothing, obviously. But Pacers certainly don't want it to go 7 games, but I think the
Absolutely.
NBA does.
Absolutely. But before I get to my thoughts, we have a fight pretty much inside the chat already. Love it. Frankie Pisani saying it's going to Game 7. Derek disagrees. He says Pacers will send them home, no doubt. Love it here in the comments.
All right. Well, those 2 loyal listeners, Derek and Frankie, I kind of told Frankie the other day, if the Knicks win that game the other night, then it's going 7 games, and it's looking like that.
And
know
I
Derek doesn't think so.
I think it's going to 7 games. Here's my reasons why. Number one, the NBA wants to see high ratings. We had 6 million people, almost 7, watch Game 6 just the other day. Game 5, excuse me, the other day. Everybody wants to see it go back to New York. They want the energy of the Garden. They want the energy of New York. And everybody in this tri-state area will watch this Knicks game because that's just how our market is. More people watch basketball than hockey versus any other sport, and except for football, obviously. So they want to see this New York Knicks teams go far and strive and go hard and go win this next game. So they're going to win tonight, I have a feeling. They're going to win tonight.
Me too.
They're going to go to Game 7. And if they don't, I think the NBA is going to feel a little upset about it, I think, because they want this Knicks go.
Let's talk about that for a second, Eli, because there is always this looming thing out there
that it's fixed.
Yeah, that it's kind of rigged or whatever. Like, it's just with the whole gambling tie-in and all of this. There, like there was a game in the Oklahoma City series where one guy misses a foul shot and that blows up the bet on FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever it was. So, we have to be careful. We're not accusing the NBA, but
right.
they
I kind of agree. I agree, because how is it possible that both Game 3s for the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, the team that's up 2-0 looks like the worst team that ever stepped onto an NBA basketball court? Does that make sense? It really does not. I'm blown away. Like, really? That really, to me, it makes no sense. So yeah, I could see how you could say it's fixed in some aspect, but if they do have to fix any game, at least fix tonight. Let the Knicks go on to Game 7, because everybody wants to see a Game 7. We haven't seen it happen in a while, I guess you could say, both NBA and NHL perspective. And I want to definitely see this Knicks team go far, and I want to see these Knicks fans go crazy out in New York City. I want to see the Knicks go on.
Yeah, and a couple of things. I've been following this very, very closely. And, obviously Jalen Brunson is the key to this, but
yes,
there's been a lot of criticism on Karl Anthony Towns, and I don't really understand why. To me, he seems like he's playing, he's putting up points. Yeah, maybe he's not a defensive guy per se, but I think he's holding up his end of the bargain. And, that's a real powerhouse duo, Brunson and Towns, right? This is something that the Knicks lacked in previous years when, this was probably Brunson's 3rd year with the Knicks, maybe. But that's an interesting thing, how the criticism seems to fall on him when they lose, but praise falls on Towns when they win. So very interesting dynamic in the way the media in New York
covers it, really.
Covers it. You're absolutely right.
Well, we do have a couple comments. JR says, I believe this is OKC to win the NBA Finals because they knocked out the Pistons and the Golden State Warrior, and he's a Golden State Warriors fan.
Yeah.
I follow the Detroit sports teams.
Okay. Well, JR has a very varied loyalty in different sports. He's a Jaguars fan. He's a Detroit Pistons fan.
Frankie says, I saw a cool story how the 2002 Western Conference Finals were rigged. Lakers shot 47 free throws to force Game 7. I think the same thing happened tonight. I think the same thing happens tonight for ratings, like Eli said. That's a good one there.
Good point, Frankie. Good point.
Derek says it came down depth of the roster. Pacers got get a slot scoring off the bench. They don't lose any level of play when they put TJ McConnell, Mathurin, and Toppin.
Yeah, I know. I'm a big Obi Toppin fan, by the way.
Yeah.
because I didn't like the way he was treated in New York. For some reason, Thibodeau didn't like him. But those are both valid points. And listen, this is really going to fall on Tyrese Halliburton. I know he has a good
Yes,
supporting cast, and I know they have a good bench, but he's the one who's been in the front of there doing the choke sign, all that kind of stuff. So, the Pacers are going to go as Tyrese Halliburton goes tonight. So,
absolutely. And I think
yeah,
it does. I mean, this Indiana Pacers team, when you think about the Indiana Pacers right now, the number one name that comes up is Halliburton. And it all comes down to what does he do? He is the star of that team. For the Knicks, it's Jalen Brunson. These are the two players to watch out for in tonight's game. And Halliburton did not have a great game last in game 5,
no,
one in the Garden. So this is a big test for him. Now back at home, what does he put on the table today? And again,
yeah.
for anybody who's watching, let us know in the comments. Who do you got? You got the Knicks, you got the Pacers tonight. Do we go to game 7 or not? And Jim, I think you're going with the Knicks, and I'm going with the Knicks. Is that what
Yep,
we're going with today?
I am. I am.
So it looks like we both got the Knicks heading to game 7 on Monday. If it happens, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay, and let's touch base on Oklahoma City because you have the reigning MVP now, and he's playing like an MVP, and with Holmgren there, and they have a very very good team. They've had kind of a historic year, right, with wins and so forth, and they've won more games by 10 points than any other team in the league, stuff like that. So that is a very formidable team. So whoever makes it in the Eastern Conference, they're going to be the underdogs against Oklahoma City. No doubt about
Absolutely. No question. I think Oklahoma's been playing really good basketball, except obviously game 3, but they've really been playing really good basketball. I think they were definitely the front runners to win it on. I think whoever wins the East is going to be tired heading into Thursday, because
it.
if you
Yeah.
think about it, Oklahoma's been off over almost a week now. It'll be they've been off Wednesday, Thursday, so they'll be off for a good while, and the finals don't begin until Thursday. Versus the winner of the Eastern Conference Series, if they force Game 7, they play Monday. So it means they
Yeah.
only have 2 days off before the final.
That's a
If
good
they
point. Yeah.
so
So I
you
think
got
the
to keep in mind
final start June 5th, I think is the
June
first.
5th on ABC. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And Derek says I have OKC winning it all, no doubt. They have the most depth out of any team in the league, and
I
there's no
don't
question.
disagree with that at all. I agree with that. If the Knicks or the Pacers get there, I think Oklahoma City's the team to
Still
beat.
is the winner. I think they're the clear winners. However, they may be tired in that game 1 because they've been off for so long. Both these teams, it's not going to be an excellent game 1. These teams will be tired. If you look at the Knicks Pacers, they won't have enough rest, while the Thunder might have too much rest. So that we'll see how that factors in to June 5th's game.
Yeah, that's the old theory. Sometimes if you wrap up your series early and you get more time off, you can get a little rusty or lose some momentum, or you could take advantage of a team that's
Right.
gone through a grueling 7-game series. So we're going to see, but we're getting down to crunch time. It's been a long season in the NBA, and then the finals are
Just right around the corner.
Yep, you got it.
And another a league that is just around the corner, of just clinched in the Stanley Cup final in the NHL. And just like that, both the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers both completed their games in 5. 5 games is all it takes for these two teams. The Stanley Cup finals begin on Wednesday at 8 o'clock on TNT. This will be an excellent series. It is a rematch from last year.
Yes,
Will the
it
Florida
is.
Panthers win it again? And now the question is, does the trophy curse come into effect? This year, the Edmonton Oilers touched their trophy. Last year they didn't, and they lost. So we'll see if that factors in. Florida, once again, did not touch their trophy once they won. So we'll see if maybe Florida wins it. We'll see if a trophy curse comes into play here.
Okay. Well, I got some thoughts on this. So as you know, in the past couple of weeks, I kind of zoomed in on the Oilers being my favorite to get to the Stanley Cup finals. Now they are playing. This is the 3rd final in a row for the Florida Panthers. They're a tough, gritty, but I always said that the best player in the league is going to win a Stanley Cup.
And that's Connor McDavid.
And that's Connor McDavid. And he's got
Florida,
a great supporting cast. They beat a really, really talented Dallas Stars team in 5 games. So this is really going to shape up to be a warlike NHL finals. And I'm sticking with the Oilers all along, not changing my mind, because I really want to see Connor McDavid get a Stanley Cup. But yeah, I know You believe in these curses in the President's Cup and all those kind of
Yeah,
things?
well, I'm gonna go with Florida winning this series. I think that
Oh,
Florida, yeah, I
okay.
think Florida is a really good team. They made a lot of changes. They're talented and stuff. And I think that if they were able to take care of Carolina and the rest of this teams with no issue, I think they should be the front runners. They have experience in winning it all. They know what it's like. I think they want to go back and win it again. Make it almost make Florida a hockey championship city. We saw Tampa Bay go win 2 straight back to back. Will Florida do it again? I think they will. I don't think Edmonton will take it here. I think it'll be
Okay.
Florida.
All right. Well,
Derek also comments real quick. He says, "Watch out for the Brooklyn Nets this offseason. Big moves coming in."
yeah, because they got like 8 number 1 draft picks or something
Something like
like
that, yeah.
that. Yeah, I know. But yeah, so the hockey final is coming up, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And
JR says he wants the Edmonton Oilers to win as well. I don't want to see Florida go back to back.
well, Eli, you just mentioned something before about we don't associate Florida with hockey in any sense of the word. Yet this is the 6th year in a row that there's a Florida team in the
Right.
NHL finals.
And they could also be the second in like the past 4 years to win a back-to-back championship. The Lightning just did that, and now Florida is possibly going to be able to do the same here. This would be pretty crazy to see that. Florida, not really like a cold weather hockey environment, will have a shot at actually winning another Stanley Cup. That'll be pretty
Well,
crazy.
interesting fact, though, if you look at the history and you remember the Edmonton Oilers and the dynasty of the New York Islanders in the early 80s, and then they lost in the finals to the Islanders for their fourth Stanley Cup in a row. And then they went on to win the Stanley Cup the following year. And as you know, they won several Stanley Cups with one of the greatest teams ever assembled with Gretzky and Messier and Curry and
Absolutely.
Anderson and all Grant Fuhr, all these guys. So this is a big deal for the Edmonton fan. It's been a long, long time since they've tasted, that
This close
atmosphere
to
with
victory.
Gretzky. Yeah, but this kid McDavid is the real deal, and I'm
We'll see if
pulling
he wins it.
for him. And you got the Panthers. I got the Oilers.
So good luck on that series.
Yes,
And we'll give you
sir.
our finals predictions after game one on Saturday next week. So
Yep.
stay tuned for that. But the other news in the NHL, the Devils are named Brad Shaw as an assistant coach.
Mm-hmm. So there's
And
only two head coaching jobs left. I think Pittsburgh and
the
oof,
Kings? No.
no,
Islanders.
no. Anyway, the
I'll take a look
Penguins
at
are
it.
Penguins are one. Penguins are one. Okay, Eli, let's move on to some Major League Baseball a little bit.
Yes. And I'm going to Google that right now to see which two teams don't have a coach.
2 teams left. But Major League Baseball, so we're seeing some great stuff from the Yankees and Aaron Judge, but they're playing maybe the best team in the league in the Los Angeles Dodgers in a series, kind of a rematch of the World Series, blah blah blah. And the Dodgers take Game 1, and it's the first time in Major League history that 2 reigning MVPs hit a home run in the same inning. That's Judge and Ohtani. So, you think of how many baseball games have been played. That's pretty cool fact. I like those little facts.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to the NHL thing real quick. The ESPN had the original article as Ducks, Bruins, Blackhawks, Rangers, Flyers, and Kraken that did not have a team. They haven't had a coach yet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Vancouver as well.
Yeah.
But I believe some of those jobs were filled in, but this was an old article on ESPN that was not updated. So yeah.
So listen, let's just point out a couple of things. So we're like 55 games in to this season of 162. So there's a long, long way to go.
And what about Juan Soto? Really, I guess you could say a disappointing run for this Mets. And I think every Mets fan right now is saying, yeah, I'm kind of disappointed right now. And I don't think we should have paid him $760 million.
Yeah, I mean, there's always hindsight. But the Mets are actually winning in spite of him not having the Soto-like season worth $700 million. He just seems a little out of sorts. And I think he's regretting his decision not to bat, behind Aaron Judge. And that means something. And, I thought he believed that the Mets, obviously the money was a big factor, but that the Mets had a better chance. than he would with the Yankees. And right now, the Yankees are playing outstanding. Judge is having a Judgian year, and really, really, really good stuff. But some surprises in Major League Baseball as you look. The Detroit Tigers of all teams, the
On
first
number
team to
one.
win 30 games. Yeah.
Yeah, that they have an incredible run right now. They're looking to remain up there. They're just ahead of the Yankees by 3 wins. It's incredible down in the American League.
Yeah. And you got to think about it because they got, the reigning Cy Young and Scooble.
Yep.
And, just really, really good for the city of Detroit. I mean, I got to give them some credit there.
And at one point, you got to feel bad for this Colorado Rockies team. They only have 9 wins so far in this season.
Oh,
They played more than 55 games already, and they only have 9 wins on the season. That is the worst record right now in MLB currently this season, followed by the White Sox at 18 wins.
yeah, which we knew that was going to happen. But yeah,
Right,
this is I had an opportunity to watch some of the Rockies Yankees series, and we've talked about this, the parity in baseball. They don't have the money. They don't have, the ability to compete with these free agents, and they look like a minor league baseball team.
They do.
A major league team.
Bottom line.
And yeah, hard to believe.
It's crazy to think about.
Eli, couple other ones. I got a couple of notes, and this one kind of caught me by surprise, and it's Chris Sale. I mean, I know he's a Cy Young Award winner, but he's had some injury over his career, and he's the fastest pitcher to get to 2,500 strikeouts in Major League Baseball history. And that caught me off guard.
Wow.
I would have said, yes, I know he was a strikeout pitcher. I didn't know he was that kind of a strikeout pitcher to have 2,500. So he's going to get, and we used to think that 3,000 strikeouts was almost an impossible feat in the way that pitchers are babied and only go 5 innings and stuff like that. But this he's gonna be around long enough to get 3,000. That's for sure. That is for sure. Congratulations. By the way, the second fastest was Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
And he struck out a few guys in his day, didn't he?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Well, one other disturbing fact, and this is, this happened on a couple of occasions. It was in Houston. Lance McCullers and Liam Hendriks, 2 guys. McCullers for Houston, and I forgot who Hendriks was for. But these guys were getting death threats, literally, to their families as well for giving up, 7 runs in 1 inning or something. I mean, people have to start realizing that this is just a game. And you're talking, these guys are nervous. Like now they have round the clock protection from potential violence because they gave up.
It's crazy.
Isn't it? It's hard to believe.
It is. William Hathaway comments. He says, good morning, fellas. What do you think about the Pacers-Knicks series? What are your comments so far?
Well, William, I think you got up late because we beat that horse to death. We both think that the Knicks are going to win. They're going to win tonight, and then they're going to win Game 7, and they're going to play Oklahoma City. So the marketing and the ratings go up, and everybody's happy, and everybody makes money. So
pretty much, and that's the bottom line. Thank you.
We appreciate your comment. First time.
Well, let's head to the tennis to talk about the French Open.
Yeah, and when I was thinking about the French Open, obviously the most notable person not playing there for the first time, 13-time defending French Open champion Rafael Nadal, but they gave him an absolute wonderful. He's a Spaniard, and they love him in France. And they did a wonderful, wonderful job, brought him to tears because we know he's not playing anymore. And we've talked about the Federer and the Nadals, and now there's just Novak. And he's in there. He's won a couple rounds. But when we talk about the French Open, right, and the young guns that we've talked about over time, the Alcarazes, the Sinners, Tommy Pauls, these are who's gonna be the next trio of guys like we saw with Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal. But I'm going to miss Rafael Nadal not playing in the French Open. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I think the one note I have from tennis that was a shock. Coco Gauff forgot her rackets the other day.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was it made all over the news. It was a funny moment, but she said her trainer didn't get back, and she joked off on Twitter and stuff, saying, "Oh, it was just a joke, and yeah, we messed up. Forgot to check it off my list."
yeah. She actually did write a checklist, and one of them
I
was,
enjoy, yeah,
uh, "Don't forget to bring rackets," and that box was unchecked. Yeah, that
yeah,
was funny.
it was
But
a
on
good
the
joke.
women's side, like I said, I mean, we really have a couple of dominating, right? We have Sabalenka and we have Swiatek and Coco Gauff. So the women's side is kind of wide open, but it'd be hard right now to root against, to bet against Alcaraz on the men's side. But Sinner is the number one player in the world, so
Yeah,
he's going to have to get through him to do it. But I know Mike Garvey, our loyal listener from Naples, Florida, big tennis guy, and I know he's loving the Roland Garros French Open.
we do have a couple comments I want to get to real quick. Bobby says, "Well, I got on too late." Bill's another guy who covers Seton Hall basketball, and he
Oh,
also
okay, Bill.
says,
Thank you.
uh,
Yeah.
"Eli, you're going to Seton Hall. You should not be rooting for the Villanova Knicks, but I got to. It's New York. We want to see the energy of this New York crowd. We have to."
Right. You
You
live in
and
Fairview.
JR says, "I wish Soto would have stayed with the Yankees. Maybe he'll get trained back to them, traded back to
Yeah,
them." Well, I
don't
don't know
see
about
that
that one,
happening.
but he's got too much money there in the
Yeah.
Mets. Yeah, but yeah. Sorry, I got to root for this
Yeah.
Knicks team. I have to. I mean, you got to root for the Knicks in this run. Jimmy, you still
Okay,
there?
from Bradley, but yeah.
Still there, Jim?
Oh, yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're going off. Are you here? You good?
I'm hearing you.
For those watching at all, please let us know who you can't hear.
What do we have?
We can't tell. I think Jim, I think you lost connection there,
Can you
Jim.
hear
You
me?
there? Yeah, I think you lost connection. You there?
All right, let me go back out. All
Okay.
right. Yeah, you carry us for a minute.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
So while Jim takes a minute to reset, uh, hopefully he'll be. Can you hear us at
How
all?
about now? Am I back? Am I back?
Yep, you're good. You're good.
All right, we're
Yeah.
good.
Okay, good.
All right,
Perfect. All right.
good. So Eli, we have to. We would be remiss because we had our resident soccer expert Diego Cruz on the show a
Yes.
few weeks ago to kind of educate us in the world of soccer. And
Yes.
there's a big game today. He had to text me and made sure I mentioned, but I said it was already in my notes. It's the Champion
Excellent. That's
League
all we need.
final, right? We have Paris Saint-Germain versus Inter Milan or Internazionale, however they say that, 3 o'clock on CBS this
Yeah.
afternoon. And there's no question. I know where Mr. Cruz will be at 3 o'clock on this afternoon. So that's a
Yeah,
big
he'll be
match.
watching that game on CBS.
Yeah. So I think one of them has never won the Champions League, and the other one I get them mixed up. So maybe Diego could chime in and tell us who's going to win this big game today.
Yeah. Bobby comments. He says, "That was Steve getting mad at me for rooting against the Knicks."
Okay.
Well, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to switch gears and we're going to talk a little bit about the WNBA before we get to some random points, because right now the WNBA has been exciting. I've been watching it, and you know why? The New York Liberty and Minnesota Lynx are perfect right now. They stand at a 6-0 record, perfect right now in the game. The last time a long streak like that happened was the LA Sparks. They were the last team to have a longest all-time regular season win streak with 18 back in 2001. The Lynx and Liberty are now tied at 6. They both hope to look to beat that record. Some exciting news, more importantly, the Commissioner's Cup starts tomorrow, which is basically like the NBA Cup, but it's called the Commissioner's Cup here in the WNBA, which basically is a normal game from each home court, and the top record from each conference will compete in the championship on June 25th for $500,000 and $5,000 for each player playing in the championship in Coinbase. So So that is what's up for grabs.
Well, that sounds like that in-season tournament the
Yes, that's what
NBA
it
has,
is. Yep,
right? Yeah.
exactly that.
Okay.
Caitlin Clark will be out for 2 weeks with the left quad strain injury. This was announced earlier this week. And no games are going to be televised this for this weekend at least. But here are the games to look out for if you want to check on your local channel if you have it, or maybe on the sports app, whatever you have. Chicago takes on Dallas tonight at 8 o'clock. That's locally, not on TV. Tomorrow, the Connecticut takes on Liberty for the tri-state area. That's available on My 9 at 3 o'clock. Phoenix takes on LA tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Las Vegas, Seattle at 6 o'clock, and Minnesota, Golden State tomorrow at 8:30. And that's what I have in the WNBA. It's pretty exciting. Been watching a lot more. Been rooting for my Liberty, New York Liberty. So keep on winning, and let's stay perfect. Let's beat the LA Sparks for that 18 games longest all-time regular season win streak.
Okay. You certainly do know your WNBA. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and just like that, we'll move on to some random points. That is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut.
Yes, one of our longtime sponsors, and we thank them for that. So I got a couple, Eli, a couple of, and a couple of them aren't such good news. There's two prominent NBA players that are involved in the news, and one was Shawn Kemp, who pled guilty to some shooting thing. So he was one hell of a basketball player when he was in the league, and you hate to see this, but you can't get away from it. And it's not just NBA, it's always something that these guys are involved in trouble. And you would think with all the money they made, they wouldn't get involved in this. But
yeah, well, they are.
That was
They're
one thing. And also now the latest thing, right? We had all these high expectations that Zion Williamson was going to be one of the great players in the NBA. And we've seen his injury-prone career. He's out of shape. He's this and that, and now he's facing sexual assault charges. And I don't know what
it
to
just
make.
Goes on and on.
Yeah, it's really hard to believe that this stuff keeps happening. And he was such a promising, decent kid. When he was coming out, he's very tight with his mother and so forth. And then you read this story, but this is what happens in sports. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Couple other random notes. So I'm kind of moving around here. Congratulations to Charlie Woods, son of Tiger, who has now won his first American Junior Golf Association title.
Yeah.
This kid, he has the mannerisms of his father, like you've never seen before. And this kid is going to be a golfer on the PGA Tour in the next 5 years, maybe something like that. But congratulations to him. He won his first championship. That was cool. The Denver Broncos are inducting Demaryius Thomas into.
Had that in my notes.
Yep, into their Ring of Honor, and he did pass away back in 2021, I believe. He had some sort of a condition of some sort, but he was a very dynamic player for the Broncos and for the NFL in general. So that's worth noting and well-deserved for him. Super Bowl winner too. Yep. And he's the second all-time leading receiver in Broncos history behind Rod Smith. So that's really outstanding company.
Absolutely.
And here was one that kind of bothered me a little bit because we've talked about this, and me in particular have talked about it. I wasn't a big Rory McIlroy fan. He looked to me as just overconfident throughout the early part of his career, but we can't deny it. He is now he does have a golf's Grand Slam, but it's the brotherhood of the PGA, and in particular Jack Nicklaus, who is the patriarch of the PGA. And this weekend, this is his memorial tournament. Always, before the U.S. Open, and he didn't have the decency to call Jack and say, "Listen, for whatever reason, I can't play in this tournament." Jack Nicklaus has to read it in the newspaper. There's something called courtesy, and Jack Nicklaus even came out and said, if there was a tournament that Byron Nelson was sponsoring, and for whatever reason I couldn't make it, you pick up the phone and you call that gentleman directly. And that's called
Yes.
respect. And I think this was kind of a little black mark on Rory's record. And Jack took the high road and said, listen, I've had to miss tournaments in the past. He really let Rory off the hook, but I think Rory owes him an apology, and I hope Jack gets it from him.
Absolutely.
You know how I feel, Eli, about not only being good at your sport, but exhibiting class and grace. That's so important.
Yeah.
Can't say enough.
Big important.
And I got one other one because it's so funny, and this came from. I used to think when during COVID, right, there was no sports and everybody was going out of their minds.
Everybody's going crazy. Yep.
Yeah, so they started watching cornhole and rock skipping and literally stuff like that. Here's a new one, and this came from me. I'll give Diego Cruz credit for this.
It's not
There is
pickable.
now a sport called national pillow fighting. And it's literally two guys in a ring with like a bag with stuff in it, and it's a pillow fight. This was on ESPN. Have you ever heard of anything so ludicrous in your life?
Well, listen, as I say, anything that's on ESPN is a sport. Spelling Bee, the National Spelling Bee was on the ESPN for a while. So if you want to say anything's a sport, it is. If pillow fighting's a sport, then Spelling Bee's a sport because it was on ESPN at one point. So
right.
Yeah,
So now, listen,
I guess that's nothing new. I guess you could say.
I would prefer to watch the National Spelling Bee over the Pillow Fighting Championship.
Yeah.
And there's a new thing on ESPN I saw too called Tag. So they have this.
Yes, I watched that actually. That was actually pretty fun to watch, honestly.
Yeah, it does take a little athleticism for sure.
Yeah, I mean, kind of cool. Like, okay, move.
I
think
go
to the left, go to the right, duck underneath. Like, yeah, let's go.
I think I'm gonna stick to golf and tennis and baseball.
I think I'm gonna get into this new sports stuff. I'll stick to the old basic stuff. This is pretty exciting for me. Maybe we'll join the pillow fight competition. Get a bunch of pillows in our beds.
Give us your random points.
Oh, we do have a couple of comments though. Eric says, "Good morning to all. Happy Saturday." Bobby says, "The guy on the left is graduating Tuesday." Thanks, Bobby.
Already mentioned.
And competitive rock paper scissors is there too.
Oh yeah, that should be a good one.
That's exciting. Wow. I can do that, right? Rock paper. I can do
it. That's actually a funny comment. That was very good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good one. I mean, Jim, we can do it right now if you want to do rock paper scissors. We can go. Virtual, we can do it here. Bigger prize and stuff. All right, let's go.
What do you got for it?
All right. Well, after 10 years of doing NBC Nightly News, Lester Holt signs off. He says he'll still remain with NBC, but will focus more on Dateline, another popular NBC show. Congratulations. And we will always remember his famous ending line of, "Please continue to take care of yourself and each other, and I'll do the same."
Okay.
Team USA wins its first Hockey World Championship after 92 years, beating Switzerland 1-0.
Yes.
Alex Palou wins the 109th Indy 500 just last week. Kimberly A. Martin continues to stay with resigns with ESPN to stay as an NFL reporter. Mm-hmm. Kenny Albert becomes the second all-time play-by-play announcer, calling 1,482 nationally televised games for all major sports on a variety of channels. Congrats to Kenny. And just ahead of him at 1,544 games is Dick Stockton.
Wow.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Where was Marv Albert on that list?
He just passed Marv Albert.
Oh,
Kenny. Okay. He Kenny just passed Marv Albert. So that was exciting.
Excellent.
Yeah. Some exciting news for travelers. Governor Phil Murphy announced that the closed runway in Newark Airport, runway 4 left, 22 right, will reopen on Monday ahead of schedule. This is one of the major causes to Newark's delays besides the air traffic control shortage. So this is great news ahead of the busy summer travel season.
Yep.
And my favorite story that I can't wait to announce, 2 pigeons were stuck on a Delta flight ready to take off from Minneapolis this week. They removed the birds ahead of the flight. And all I know is if I was there and on that flight and I saw 2 birds, I would be scared and be jumping out of that emergency exit window on the left-hand side of me because I would not want to stay seeing 2 birds flying around like crazy. What a story that was.
I did
Uh,
see that actually. Funny video. Yeah.
Andrew comments. He says, "Good morning, guys. Congrats, Eli." And Mark says, "How about slap fighting? That's very big now." That's
You
right.
know
Yes.
what?
With
You're right,
yes.
Mark. I've actually seen some of that. That's as ludicrous as pillow
Yes.
fighting to me. It's
And
ludicrous.
the one with tortilla, I think it's, I don't know if that's a sport or not, but they had tortilla fight, tortilla slap. I don't know if that's just an Instagram thing.
Uh,
Tortilla slap. Yeah, these are unique sports. We got to start doing our own competition, like a little sports with mano like World Series of competition events. I think this is exciting.
well, thank you, Mark, for bringing that up for us. That was
Yeah, I like that one.
very
And
good.
just like that, it's time for the entertainment and photo segment that is sponsored by Vital Selection. Scan the QR code to learn more.
Okay, Eli. So I got one. Yeah. Not so much a movie. It's a show. So we try
Right?
to find something that keeps your interest. And um, the one show I've been watching, I think I mentioned Your Friends and Neighbors last week with John Hamm. But this one is called The Morning Show with Reese
Yes, on
Witherspoon
Apple
and
TV.
Jennifer.
Yes, yes. Mhm.
It's very, very good, actually. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
think
heard
it was
about it.
going to be
Yeah,
good. So I got through the first season, so I'm
we got a
definitely
couple
all
more
on
left.
board.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I think
if
the
you
new
haven't
season comes
seen
out
it,
soon.
check it out. It's really good actors. Steve Carell is outstanding in
Yeah,
it. Billy Crudup is in it. Like I said, Jennifer Aniston, but really good show about more about the Me Too movement. And there's an eerie, looming question: is this based literally on the Matt Lauer and Savannah Guthrie thing at the Today
yeah,
Show? Without question, it is. But it's worth watching. It's on Apple TV.
yeah. Bobby says the morning show is tremendous.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
good.
a couple of shows I want to recommend as well. Phineas and Ferb returns to Disney Channel this Thursday, June 5th at 8 o'clock, and streams the next day. All episodes on Disney Plus. Was a popular show back in the a couple of years ago, and it continues to come back. So I can't wait to watch that. An American Ninja Warrior season 17 debuts Monday at 8 o'clock on NBC. A great show to watch as well. Love to see the competition, the obstacles and stuff. And I actually got the opportunity to watch Lilo and Stitch last week. Great movie, completely different from the original. So check that out. Part of the biggest box office weekend with Mission Impossible, and The Karate Kid just came out yesterday. So check
Yeah.
out The Karate Kid. That just hit theaters yesterday.
Yeah, that's with Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio.
Macchio, which I got to see him on my first time when I went to go see live with Kelly and Mark. That was a great interview, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Good kid. Good kid.
Yeah. Mark says, I also saw a competitive soap boxing race on ESPN the other day. Guys build a soap car and ride it down hills. That's like the Red Bull one on like FS1, I think, with the Red Bull car bike racing. That's pretty cool.
You know what's even more crazy than that, then, Mark? There's also, they had this annual cheese rolling contest
Yes.
in England, and people are going literally. How could you not get hurt?
Yeah, I mean, listen, anything nowadays is becoming a sport. I mean, what was another sport that I was watching the other day? I just had the name. It stuck in my head. Well, we had the Red Bull event was cool. Hot dog eating contest, Nathan's. That's on ESPN always. That's a big event and stuff. So if you want to think about it, it really
But
is.
what happened to the days when Mark, who just sent us some comments, was the commissioner? We played stickball and we did all sports.
Handball, all those games.
We didn't roll down hills chasing a block of cheese. I know that. We did.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. All
right,
we got a couple of photos, but first, before we get to those photos, I know you have something that we don't have a photo of, but I want you to bring that up first before I get to the other ones.
Yes, and I meant to bring it up last week because it was Memorial Day, and let me see.
You got to back up. Yep.
Right. This is,
there you go.
We all know what kind of a hero this kid was, and great story. And this was Steve's. His son gave it to him for a Christmas gift, and I meant to bring it up yesterday, but Pat Tillman exemplifies what Memorial Day is all about. It's a great picture.
Absolutely. Here are a couple photos.
Yeah. Oh, and that's my grandson Logan. They had this tournament out in Mount Olive, New Jersey. Beautiful facilities, by the way, and their team surprised a lot of other teams in that tournament, and they made the finals. Unfortunately, came up a little bit short, but that builds character, and I'm just so proud of him. Look at that; he's got beautiful motion, and really,
Incredible.
He just gives it his all. And it's so funny, like as I watch these kids year after year, and the difference physically and mentally from the
It
year
shows.
before. It's amazing the progression that they have. I love it. I love it.
That's awesome.
And that's me with my other two grandkids, who, of course, they're rooting on their brother. That's Hudson, and that's Hayden, and that's the old man in the middle. And
All
here
right.
we go. So last week was Memorial Day, and
Yep.
that's my neighbor Norm, who I might have mentioned before. Wonderful man, 98-year World War II veteran, such a sweet man. And I had an
That's awesome.
opportunity to sit outside and talk with him for an
That's
hour last
awesome.
week, and it was great. So
I did want to post one photo myself. This week I had the school awards night, and I was lucky to take home 7 awards that night. It was pretty crazy in a bunch of different
wow,
categories. Believe it or not, though, freshman actually beat me. She had 8 awards, so I want to give credit to her. So believe it or not, there was somebody else that did beat me. But yes, I was happy enough to win 7 awards.
wow,
One was broadcasting, sports psychology, financial literacy, student council, key club, uh, campus ministry, and the other one was best supporting role for the play, because I remember I was the priest for that play. So I did take home 7 awards. So it's pretty cool.
wow.
Got to find a place to put it.
And just make sure you leave room for when you and our show gets picked up by ESPN
That's
and we
absolutely.
win the ESPY award as the best podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Congratulations. That's
yeah,
quite an honor,
appreciate
my
it.
friend.
Yeah, that was
Very
pretty
good.
cool moment. Yep.
That's
And like that,
outstanding.
we have some notable passings to report.
We do. A couple here.
I do too.
And one came up yesterday, which, as a matter of fact, I brought up MASH in our entertainment segment a few weeks ago, about how the first 3 seasons are amazing. And Loretta Swit, who played Hot Lips Houlihan, was 87. She passed away yesterday. So that is certainly notable. She was wonderful, won Emmys and so forth. So that's a big loss for Hollywood on a very iconic show. And she was there. I think she was in about 245 of the 252 shows. Yeah, I think only Alan Alda, who played Hawkeye Pierce, was in more. From the world of music, Rick Derringer. Now, I know Eli doesn't know who Rick Derringer is, but he was 77. But he had certainly our older folks and well aware. He had Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo and all those kind of big hits. Really, and he did a lot of work. He was not just a soloist, but he was in a couple of different bands and actually did some composing, even worked with Barbra Streisand. So well-rounded, certainly notable from the world of music.
Yes.
And a couple off the track, Charles Rangel, former New York senator, congressman, I believe. Yeah.
Congressman, yes. From the Black Caucus, yes.
Yeah, 46 years in Congress, 94 years old. I guess you would call him a progressive type of politician. But 46 years in Congress, that's certainly something to be proud of. And also, former police commissioner during the 9/11 attacks in New York City, Bernie Kerik, was 69 years old, ran into some trouble. So, and it's funny because Diego Cruz and I were talking about him, and I was just about to read Bernie Kerik's book that he wrote. And then it came out, he was, he had some charges against him, and, he was doing some crazy stuff. So I stopped reading the book, but I thought it was notable because 9/11 was such a big day in our country's history. And
absolutely,
he actually did do a good job as police commissioner during that. He was 69 years old.
The other one I have was Alf Clausen, who was an Emmy-winning composer for The Simpsons. He passed away at the age of 84. He was born in 1941.
Oh, okay.
And Bobby says that Loretta Swift was from Passaic, New Jersey.
Yes, she was. I was negligent in not mentioning that, but I did know that. I did know that. So Eli,
what a great show. And one more important thing, go New York, go New York, go. Let's go to game 7. Knicks Pacers tonight. TNT, everybody's got to watch it.
Yep. And I just want people to know, when you come and checking out our show, subscribe to the channel, because if you guys want us on ESPN, we got to get the subscriber count up a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah,
because that's
subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you X, whatever you call it. Subscribe, follow us, email us on the show at sportsmonomano@gmail.com. We love to hear it, and we
yep.
enjoy doing this every week. And we thank all of you for watching every week. And we'll be back next week, 10 o'clock, right here on Sports with Mono and Mono.
Yes. And again, let me echo that I am really, really proud of my partner and your accomplishments in high school. And now you're
Appreciate it.
moving on to the next phase of your life. And, you know, I'm just very delighted to have you as my co-host, my friend. So
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, we'll see you back here next week, Saturday, 10 a.m. And like I said, go read that article I posted up because
Yes.
it's really something
It's on the Instagram, Facebook pages.
Right. You could find 6 or 7 minutes of your day to read a real feel-good article written by Eddie Mott. So thank you.
Absolutely.
See you guys next week.
All right, everyone. Have a great day.
Okay, guys.